behalf of your Coffee County Veterans Association, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us here to honor the 1% of Americans who put their personal lives on hold to defend our great nation and the wonderful liberty that all too many people tragically take for granted. Your attendance with us, despite the brisk autumn weather, is evidence that you don't take our freedoms lightly, that you appreciate the service and sacrifice of those who serve, and I thank you. I'm Lamar Wilkie, past commander of your Coffee County DAV, Disabled American Veterans, Chapter 90. On behalf of our 300 members and our colleagues in American Legion Gold Star Post 78 and Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 10904, we welcome. I'd like to acknowledge a couple of people here who are in the audience. I don't think any federal people snuck in. That'd be kind of hard to do, but I know I believe State Representative Jeff Matheny is in attendance somewhere. We have County Mayor Gary Cordell. Thank you for coming, Mayor. We appreciate your support. We have Manchester Mayor Lonnie Norman. Thank you, Mayor, for the use of your square. It's very nice. Appreciate it. We also have several county commissioners and elected officials. Appreciate your attendance, very much so. The selections of music that you heard while you were approaching the square and taking your seats were carefully selected pieces that represent the music our troops listened to during their service. Everything from Glenn Miller and the Andrews Sisters up through the Korean and Vietnam Wars, the Gulf War, and today's continued fight against those who wish to harm us. That music takes us right back to those times, those moments, those experiences. Many thanks to our DJ, Mr. Dennis Teal, for your dedication in helping with so many of our ceremonies. Thank you, sir. I particularly want to recognize our city and county law enforcement for their help here, as well as the Manchester and Hillsborough volunteer fire departments for your use of their ladder trucks to display that nice flag up there. Thank you, first responders. Beautiful sight, isn't it? Thank you, first responders, for your effort. We really appreciate it. Now, if you'll please rise, remove your hats and caps, I'd like to invite American Legion Chaplain Bob Brinkman to lead us in our invocation. Afterwards, please remain standing for our national anthem, sung by Mrs. Karen Wainwright and Mr. Landon Spangler, as your Coffee County Sheriff's Office Honor Guard raises the flag of our nation, and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Before I do the prayer, I'd like to read a poem. There's a service flag flying at our house, is the name of it. There's a service flag flying at our house, a blue star in a field of red and white. Father is so proud of what his boy has done. There's a tear in Mother's smile as she murmurs, "My son, perhaps he will return with fame and glory. If by chance we lose him in the fight, there'll be a service flag flying at our house and a new star in heaven for that night." Will you bow with me, please? Our Father and our God, we thank you for allowing us to come and honor the men and women who have served our country and think about those who didn't come home. Father, we also think about the men and women who are on guard today in different places of the world and out in ships in the ocean. Father, we also want to thank the veterans. We want to think about the veterans who are in hospitals and who are suffering from different physical, mental, emotional orders that they have. But we also want to think about the families who have supported them and have flown those flags in their house, proud of their children. Father, we ask that you guide us and give us strength to meet each and every day. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Early night, when so proud broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets ran glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please remain standing and join me with your hand over your heart in the Pledge of Allegiance. I would remind veterans that they are now authorized to render a hand salute during the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Many people may wonder why today and why 11 a.m. Well, let me answer that. It's 99 years ago today, right now, that the armistice went into effect. The ceasefire that effectively brought World War I to an end. Germany and the Allied forces began the armistice at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. To this day, Great Britain traditionally stops everything at 11 a.m. for 2 minutes of silence to honor this event. It's important. Originally called Armistice Day, it became a national holiday in 1938. And in 1954, the name was changed to Veterans Day to honor veterans of all eras. First, I want to begin by recognizing all of those among us who have been part of the great brotherhood and sisterhood we call the United States military. No matter what branch you served in, wartime or peace, whatever your job path or however long you served, raising your hand, taking that oath, and committing yourself to serve in the military was a courageous and selfless act. We all owe a debt of gratitude to those who have served and those who continue to serve today so that America can sleep peacefully at night. And that's why the Honor Flight is such a fantastic program. The Honor Flight is available to veterans of World War II and the Korean Wars, and it's beginning to open up to Vietnam War veterans. They're transported early in the morning by charter bus with police escort to the Nashville airport, where they board a plane with their fellow veterans. They're flown to Washington, D.C. and given a VIP tour of the monuments erected in their honor. They get great meals, they're treated like rock stars, and flown back that evening. It is a long and exciting day for those folks. And the cost of all this to the veteran is zero. Their military service paid the ticket. The program is completely funded by donations. If someone wants to travel along as an assistant to help, they can do so at a very reduced cost. If you are an eligible veteran and have not taken the Honor Flight, or you want to help or want more information about it, the person to see is Mr. Rob Moreland. Mr. Rob Moreland standing over there, a big, lanky, good-looking fellow with his hand up. He has the lead on this, and he'll be happy to answer your questions after the ceremony. And I would be remiss if I failed to mention the vital efforts of our military spouses and family members who keep our troops focused on the mission and not problems at home. I know I so appreciate the efforts of my darling bride Donna, also a Navy veteran, who kept our household running and was often the only parent at home while I was away to serve. We could not have done our jobs without them. Thank you. Four guys up in heaven were having a rather heated debate. St. Peter went over and asked them, "What are you arguing about? It's heaven. It's supposed to be nice and peaceful." One of them responded, "Oh, sorry, we were just having a little discussion about what branch of service was the best." St. Peter said he would pose the question to God, who would release a memo in about a week. A week later, the memo arrived. The text of the memo said that God had been asked what branch of military service was the best. He replied as follows: all branches of military service serve with dignity and honor. All members of all branches of military service serve with dignity and honor. All branches of military service are held in highest esteem. Sincerely, God. United States Navy, retired. We like to rib each other a little, but we're all on the same team, right? Our special guest this morning enlisted in the United States Army in 1967. He served with Air Defense Artillery Command, Armor Division, Red Eye Missile Command, Army Recruiting Command, and completed the Sergeant Major's Academy at Fort Bliss, Texas, after which he served as the Sergeant Major at Fort Dix and was Senior Army Advisor to the Reserve Component. After serving tours across America, including the Pentagon and around the world, he retired in 1995. He and his lovely wife, Sheila, moved to beautiful Monteagle, Tennessee, which they still call home. He has a life membership and a leadership position in just about every veterans organization one can think of. He's also parliamentarian of the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce, trustee of the Templeton Confederate Veterans Cemetery in Winchester, and a life member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. He is also Veterans Coordinator for the Honor Flight of Middle Tennessee. If there is a veteran in need or a veteran's issue to be addressed, he is right in the middle of it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Army Sergeant Major Larry E. Williams.
If you allow me to take off my cap, I find that the pressure on my brain limits my speaking, so I gotta remove it. And I'm here. During this past week, I've been honored to speak at dinners, elementary schools, gatherings of veterans, and I'm afraid that one of the little tykes at the Clark Elementary or Memorial School in Winchester might have passed on a little sore throat to me, so please bear with it. I assure you we will get through this speech in its entirety. My speech is just one piece of paper. I have a 3-ring binder in the car of speeches I've written over the years for different categories, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and such. But I want to tell you a story today. After I open up with a statement, there was a time, and I think every man can feel this, there was a time in my career that when I spoke, 17,280 troops moved out. Now, after 44 years of marriage, my own wife won't listen to me. So when I'm invited out to speak, I'm always happy to be there in hopes of being able to talk and someone will listen to me, which I don't find at home. I want to, rather than give you a pre-prepared speech, as I'm sure so many have spent the week on crafting just the right words to deliver at a veterans gathering like this, I'd like to tell you a story. I'd like to tell you a story about a young boy and how he was influenced by military veterans. In this case, primarily of the Great Generation, World War II. This young boy was born in August of 1949 in Hagerstown, Maryland, south of the Mason-Dixon line, a state that carried no votes for Mr. Lincoln, by the way. But to move on, he was born and his mother left him at the Washington County Hospital and didn't want anything further to do, so he was placed up for adoption. And a lovely couple by the name of Minnie and Percy came in looking to adopt a child. Now Minnie was only 4'11", and Percy was only 5'3". Minnie had 3 children that all died in birth because of too small to live. So the doctors and the priest told Minnie to stop trying and adopt. So they came to Hagerstown, Maryland. They lived in Chambersburg at the time for after the war. Percy was working at Letterkenny Army Depot in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, seeking out a baby. The people at the orphanage said, well, what do you want, a boy or girl? And Minnie said, I just want a baby. So fortunately for this young man, he was given to Minnie and Percy Williams at the age of 3 months and taken home. Now Percy was a World War II veteran. He was in an engineer battalion during World War II. And he taught this young boy, while growing up, many good principles to live your life by. How to show respect, how to honor your country, how the meaning of serving your country, and all those things that every child should fantasize about when it comes to parents. And those of us at my age were extremely fortunate because our parents were from the great generation, and there's no one finer that have walked the face of this country than the great generation of parents. And I commend them, and I thank them. Well, I'll move fast forward. Over the years, Minnie would say to this young boy, would you like to know who your biological parents were? And he'd think for a moment, and he'd say, no, why should I? I mean, I've got a great mom and dad. I've got a sister, because after they adopted this boy, it calmed Minnie down, and she had a little baby girl in 1950. She only weighed 2 pounds, 14 ounces, but she managed to live and has grown children of her own and grandchildren today. But they taught both the girl and the boy all the good things that great generation parents teach. And as I began to say over the years, Minnie would say, do you want to find out who your biological parents were? And the boy would say no. Well, finally, Minnie passed away in 1998. And maybe a sense of obligation to Minnie came about because this boy in 2008 applied to the state of Maryland, and it was a lengthy amount of paperwork. And so much so, the questions were all geared to, do you have any animosity or bitterness towards your biological parents? And of course the answer was no. When you have such a great mother and father, and you spent time together, and when I say spend time together, of course we didn't have cell phones back then. We talked at night. We didn't eat until my dad got home, until that boy's dad got home from the post office at 6 o'clock. And then they would talk. Fortunately, Minnie wouldn't tell about any of the bad things that that boy did in school that day, waiting till after dinner. Then he'd have to go get the razor strap for Percy to do his duty as the father. But it was a wonderful time, and experience was shared. And if I might inject just at this moment, we have a wonderful holiday coming up next week, and that's Thanksgiving. And if you gather with your family, turn your cell phones off and ask this question: are there any veterans in our family? You'll be surprised to find there are. You need to get those stories, and you need to pass them on for future generations to know the sacrifices that not only our World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam veterans, and all the recent wars have done in honor of their country. That information needs to be passed on. Getting back to 2008, this young man applied and got no response. So in August of 2014, he said to his wife, I'm going to try one more time. And if I don't hear anything, that's an Italian gesture for Italians in the audience. In other words, the heck with it. Well, that was August of 2014. In November 2014, the phone rang. And on the television, the caption said, State of Maryland. And this young man picked up the phone, and this young lady identified herself, and she said, I am your counselor. And are you sitting down? And he said, no. She said, I'd like you to sit down because I want to tell you something. She said, you have a brother, and he'd very much like to meet you. That point opened up an entirely new family and life for him. What he found out was, and here's again where veterans come into play, his biological father served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. At the end of World War II, he came home as a master sergeant with 3 up, 3 down. Met a young lady in Winchester, Virginia, named Louise, and shortly after they married. They had this young man's brother, named Daniel, in 1946, and then they had this young man in 1949. But what he found out was, even never meeting the biological parent, he was influenced because he has served for 30 years of military service. He found that his brother was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 1 week after he was, but they never knew one another existed because the mother, even until she passed away in 2009, rejected the boy. In fact, when she had this boy, she left Winchester, Virginia, traveled to Hagerstown, Maryland, had him, and left him there, and went back home. But all that, the young man has no bitterness because he had such a wonderful family. But it has been such a journey to find out that you had, what many do not have, the benefit of having 2 great generation World War II veterans in their lives, serving as their parents. One actively, the other one not actively, but was a role model for him to have followed after. And there were so many similarities between the 2 careers of the biological father and the young man. And to this day, this young man appreciates that very much. And since his retirement from the military after 30 years of military service, all he does is volunteer for veterans organizations. If there's something to be done, he volunteers. Now, there was an article written in the Herald Chronicle just yesterday by a retired Colonel Alan Clark, which was very complimentary, and I don't know if that young man deserves all those compliments. I don't think he does, because I simply say, if you rose to the grade of an E4, a corporal, or above, you were trained to take care of the troops. Do you know of any time in that troop's life where he needs more care taken than now when he's old? No. So we all have to help our veterans. If you drove here today, if you rode a bus here today, if you jogged here today, if you walked here today, if you low crawled here today, God has given you the abilities and the faculties to help a fellow veteran. So I ask you, I charge you to take a look at what you can do. And someone in one of the schools the other day said, oh, what can I do as a little child? I'll tell you what I do each morning. I get up in the morning, as my wife can tell you, I walk 4 to 5 miles, trying to stay as fit as I can so I do not burden the taxpayers with a lot of money for my health issues because of my military service. When I come back, I start my second pot of black coffee. Never decaf. Decaf is kind of like kissing your sister. It doesn't have that same punch. So you have to drink strong, regular black coffee. But then I go on the obituaries, Herald Chronicle, and the newspaper where I grew up and my wife grew up. And I search every veteran. And I write a simple passage into their guest book. Nothing elaborate. For all veterans, with the exception of World War II, I write, I did not know you personally. However, I would like to thank you for your dedicated and honorable military service to our country. At a later date, we will meet in that special place that God reserves for all those who step forward to serve their country in a military uniform. May all of God's blessings fall upon your dear family. Now, if they're a World War II veteran, they get another paragraph recognizing them by saying simply, as a member of the great generation and as a World War II veteran, you are my hero. It's a small thing to do, but it's something to do. And I ask each and every one here today to reach out and do something for our veterans, because I've maintained for years the only weapon we have, and all the political people, hold your hand on your ears. The only weapon veterans have is knowledge when dealing with bureaucrats, because sometimes bureaucrats forget what they promised us, that they were going to take care of us. So we have to be able to remind them. We just can't go home and not challenge them in a discussion of what they owe. So please, reach out, help our veterans today. I thank you for listening, and I thank each and every one of you for your military service, and I thank the spouses of the veterans even more so, because I know what they have to put up with, what they have to do to continue the household, and then very skillfully allow the veteran to take over when they get back home from deployment and think they're in charge. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being here today. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you for your inspiring words, Sergeant Major Williams. We really appreciate your insight. I'm having a bad hair day up here with this wind. Of course, at my age, I'm thankful to have bad hair days, so I'm not complaining. It's customary at our ceremonies to recognize the veterans who are present and identify them by the branch of service in which they serve. The Westwood Middle School Band, led by Mr. Landon Spangler, will play a medley of the military service march songs. As the band plays, veterans, active duty service members, reservists, guardsmen, as you hear the song of your branch played, please stand proudly with your brothers and sisters of the same branch so that you can be recognized. close today, it would be fitting for us all to sing God Bless America together as an appeal to our Creator to shine His light of favor again on this great nation, to heal our land, unify our people, and restore us to that shining city on a hill, a beacon of freedom and liberty to the world. On the back of your program are the words to the song so that you can sing along. Don't worry if you don't think you can sing. I have a face for radio, but I can't sing, carry a tune in a bucket. This isn't the voice to belt it out. If you would, please join us as Mr. Landon Spangler comes to lead us.
Together, all right. 1, 2, ready, and God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairie, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you. Please remain standing as I invite Chaplain Bob Brinkman back to the podium for our benediction. He's not good up here. I think we have a Manchester chorus for him.
Take your covers off, please. Bow with me, please. Our Father and God, again, thank you for allowing us to gather here to celebrate and to honor the young men and women who have served this country. Father, we ask that you be with us as we leave in safe manners to leave us to our homes. We also, again, ask that you protect the young men and women who are on guard tonight and today. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. There's a there's a military museum at Monteagle, actually, that Sergeant Major Williams let me know about. It's open today, Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3. It's the Warner Military Museum. They have a website, warnermilitarymuseum.com. Check those folks out. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our 2017 Veterans Day ceremony. Thank you again on behalf of your local veterans organizations for your participation in celebrating the service of the millions of men and women who have worn the uniform of service and wear it today. We'll see you again on Memorial Day, May 28th. Mark your calendars. May God bless you and your families, and may God bless America.